Introduction to the Science of Hadith by Ibn Salah al-Shahrazuri, 577 to 643, the most influential work on the science of Hadith in existence. An exposition of the types of the means of conveying and receiving Hadith. There are 8 types in total. Type number 1. Audition of the speech of the teacher. This may be subcategorized into dictation of the Hadith and transmitting the Hadith without dictation. It makes no difference whether the teacher recites from memory or from his book. This means of transmission is the most elevated in the eyes of the masses. One of the things we hear from Qadi Iyad ibn Musa as-Sabti, a well-informed modern scholar, is the statement, "There is no dispute that in reference to this form of taking up Hadith, it is permissible for the student who heard the teacher to say, 'He transmitted to us, he informed us, he told us, I heard X saying, X said to us, and X mentioned to us. حدثنا, أخبرنا, أنبأنا, سمعت فلانا يقول, قال لنا فلان, ذكر لنا فلان.'" These are the terms. There is in fact some doubt about this, because some of these terms have come to be widely used specifically for indicating material not heard from the speech of the teacher, as we will show, God willing. They should not be applied without qualification to material heard from the speech of the teacher, since they can cause misunderstanding and confusion. God knows best. The expert Abu Bakr al-Khatib said, "For this form of reception, the highest of these expressions is, 'I heard,' followed by 'he transmitted to us,' and 'he transmitted to me.' One rarely says 'I heard' for a hadith received through licensing or correspondence, or for the misrepresentation of hadith one did not actually hear. Actually, some of the scholars of hadith did used to say 'he transmitted to us' for material licensed to them. It is related that al-Hasan used to say 'Abu Hurairah transmitted to us.' This is interpreted to mean that Abu Hurairah transmitted to the people of Medina and al-Hasan was there at that time. However, he did not personally hear anything from Abu Hurairah. On the other hand, some scholars have asserted that al-Hasan did hear hadith from him. God knows best. The phrase, "he informed us," akhbarana, comes next. It is used extensively to the point that a number of scholars, including Hammad ibn Salama, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, Hushaym ibn Bashir, Ubaydullah ibn Musa, Abdul Razak bin Hammam, Yazid bin Harun, Amr ibn Aun, Yahya bin Yahya al-Tamimi, Ishaq ibn Rahawayh, Abu Masud Ahmed ibn Furat al-Razi, Muhammad ibn Ayyub al-Razi, and others, almost never reported the hadith they heard from the speech of someone who transmitted to them without anything but the phrase, "he informed us." Al-Khatib stated that Muhammad ibn Rafi said Abdul Razak used to say, "he informed us," until Ahmed ibn Hanbal and Ishaq ibn Rahawayh came and said to him, "Say, he transmitted to us." So for everything, namely Muhammad ibn Rafi heard, he said he transmitted to us, while for his earlier transmissions he said he informed us. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi also stated that the expert Muhammad ibn Abu Fawaris said Hushaym, Yazid ibn Harun and Abdul Razak say only, "he informed us." When you find "he transmitted to us," it is an error of the copyist. God knows best. All of this was before it became common to restrict "he informed us" to material recited to the teacher. The terms "he told us," anba'ana, and "he communicated to us," nabba'ana, both of which are rarely used for material heard from the speech of the teacher, come after "he informed us." "He transmitted to us" and "he informed us" are more elevated than "I heard" in another respect. This is what I heard contains no indication that the teacher related the hadith to the student or addressed it to him. "He transmitted to us" and "he informed us" do contain an indication that the teacher addressed the hadith to the student and related it to him, or that he was from amongst those to whom this was done. The expert Abu Bakr al-Khatib asked his teacher, the jurist and hadith expert Abu Bakr al-Barqani, God he is exalted bless him, about the secret reason for his saying "I heard" rather than "he transmitted to us" and "he informed us." For the hadith he related to them from Abu al-Qasim Abdullah ibn Ibrahim al-Jurjani al-Abaduni. Barqani told him that Abu al-Qasim, for all his reliability and righteousness, was restrictive in regard to relating hadith. Barqani used to sit where Abu al-Qasim could not see him or detect his presence, so that he could hear from him the hadith he was transmitting to the person inside with him. For that reason, Barqani says, I heard, and not he transmitted to us, or he informed us, because Abul Qasim's intention was to transmit only to the person inside with him. X said to us, Qala lana fulan, or X mentioned to us, Dhakara lana fulan, are like X transmitted to us. However, they are appropriate for the hadith the transmitter heard from someone in a study session, mudhakara, and they are more suitable for this than he transmitted to us. In the discussion of suspension, ta'liq, of the category 11 above, we recounted that many of the scholars of hadith use these expressions to designate the hadith which passed between them in study sessions and competitions. The most self-effacing of the expressions for this is X said or X mentioned, without saying to me or to us and the like. And we have said above in the section on this, the isnad with from, scholars interpreted these and similar expressions as indicating audition, when it is known in general that the student met the teacher and heard hadith from him, especially when it is known of the student that he used X said only for hadith he actually heard from the teacher. Hajjaj bin Muhammad al-A'war used to relate Ibn Jurayj's books from him, saying to him, Ibn Jurayj said. People took these books from him and cited his relations as proofs. He was known to have related only what he had heard. The expert Abu Bakr al-Khatib restricted interpreting the phrase X said as indicative of audition solely to those whose custom was known to be similar to this. The well-documented and well-known view is the one we gave above, and God knows best. 2. Recitation to the teacher, al-Qira'a al-Shaykh, is the second means of taking and receiving hadith. Most of the transmitters of hadith call it presentation, since the reciter presents the hadith he recites to the teacher, just as the reciter presents the Quran to the Quran instructor. It makes no difference whether you are the reciter or someone else recites while you listen. You may recite from a book or from memory. The teacher may have memorized the material recited to him or not. In the latter case, he or some other reliable individual should hold his text. There is no disagreement that this is a valid form of transmission, that is, with the exception of the views recounted from some of those whose disagreements is not taken into account. God knows best. There is a disagreement as to whether recitation to the teacher is equivalent to the audition of the speech of the teacher in terms of rank, or whether it is inferior or superior. Abu Hanifa, Ibn Abi Dhi'b, and others have said to have preferred recitation to the teacher to the audition of his speech, and that is related from Malik as well. Malik and others are also said to have regarded them as equal. It is said that equating them is the doctrine of most of the scholars of Hijaz and Kufa, the doctrine of Malik, his followers and his Medinese teachers, and the doctrine of Bukhari and others. The correct view is to give preference to audition of the speech of the teacher and to rate recitation to him on a second rank. It was said that this is the doctrine of the majority of scholars in the eastern lands. God knows best. The ways of expressing recitation to the teacher when transmitting on the basis of it are on several levels. The best and the safest is, I recited to the teacher. There are several different ways of unqualified application, as he transmitted us and he informed us. The best and safest is, he acknowledged it. This is unquestionably valid. The expressions validly applied in unqualified form to the audition of the speech of the teacher come next, provided that when they are used in this case, they are qualified by the student, saying, X transmitted to us by means of recitation to him. He informed us by means of recitation to him, or something similar. In the same way, he claimed to us by means of recitation to him may have been used for the verse. There are several different views about the unqualified application of he transmitted to us and he informed us to an instance of recitation to the teacher. Some scholars of hadith forbid both of them. It is said that this was the doctrine of Ibn al-Mubarak, Yahya bin Yahya al-Tamimi, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Nasa'i and others. Some hold the opinion that it is licit. They maintain that recitation to the teacher is like the audition of the speech of the teacher in regard to the permissibility of the unqualified application of he transmitted to us, he informed us, and he told us. It is said that this was the doctrine of most of the Hijazians and the Kufans, the view of Zuhri, Malik, Sufyan ibn Uyayna, Yahya ibn Sa'id al-Qattan, as well as other ancient authorities, and it was the doctrine of Bukhari, the author of the Sahih, as well as a number of other transmitters. Some of them also permitted the student to say, I heard X, for recitation to the teacher. A third doctrine differentiates between the two phrases in this regard, forbidding the unqualified application of he transmitted to us and permitting the unqualified application of he informed us. This is the doctrine of Shafi'i and his followers. It is also transmitted from Muslim, the author of Sahih, and many of the scholars of the East, the author of Kitab al-Insaf, Muhammad ibn Hasan al-Tamimi al-Jawhari al-Misri said, "This is the doctrine of the countless majority of the scholars of Hadith. He informed us a symbol of occupying the place of the statement. I recited it to him. He did not utter it to me." Abu Abdurrahman al-Nasa'i, among a number of the other authorities like him who transmitted to us, was one of those in our time who advocate this view. Stay tuned.